Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review today. We're taking a look at the Knob Creek 15-year-old Dustin, batch 1, which is now a standard release 50 proof offering that you can get on a regular basis. This one came out in 2001. We're reviewing it in 2020. This is, again, release KC001 DSPKY-230. Dustin, what can you tell me about it?
And so we've got kind of, again, a couple years ago, we know Knob Creek kind of stopped giving us the good bottles or good barrels for their single barrel program, and we had to now suffer through younger whiskey, and this is the reason why. So they could do annual releases of 15 and 12-year-old bourbon. So this one is kind of famous for having a lot of batch variation. I can tell you I've had a couple bottles, have not experienced a bad one in my own purchasing, but I do know some people I trust who've had bad ones. So just heads up, this is our opinion on what is generally considered a pretty good bottle.
All right, Dustin. Batch 1, you got to figure they put their best foot forward. At least we got to hope.
Oh, about 55,000 bottles released of this. Just heads up.
All right. 50% ABV, if I didn't say that before. 100 proof. Sharp caramel.
Caramel, a little bit of fruitiness. Mm-hmm. Not super distinct fruitiness, just kind of, it's there.
Yep. Smashed up fruits, apple underneath your feet.
I'm getting apple, something simple.
Mm-hmm.
A touch of cinnamon, a little dustiness, a little nuttiness.
Mm-hmm. A little peanut shell.
Very nice.
Rich,
classic Knob Creek.
Yeah, rich caramel, though.
Yeah.
The caramel's pretty good on this one.
Quality whiskey, all in all. I mean, if you were nervous that, they were just going to, half-ass it in a batch product and it wasn't going to be as good as some of those single barrel picks, you're probably right. But it's better than some of those mediocre single barrel picks on the nose.
Well, but then if you have a substantial range of single barrel picks, you're bound to be some better, bound to be some worse.
Yeah.
We have a quality offering somewhere on the high end of in between.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm getting here. Is this is really nice. It's not over the top. This is not unpleasant. I think this is very approachable for those of you who aren't big old age statement whiskey guys. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely not over oaked. This one is definitely what I would normally expect out of a bourbon. You're getting your typical flavors. You're getting caramel, big wall of caramel. That's the show. A little bit of vanilla, a little bit of the crushed peanut shell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so I snuck in, got a little bit on the palate. I'll tell you what, Mike.
What are you picking up?
Just really well done. Oak, caramel, almost like a caramelized oak where they kind of intermingle. Good spice comes forward right away. Finish, long, nice. Depth here, I would say, is medium high. In other words, you're not getting like tons of depth, but I mean, there's definitely something here. Aged elements, I'm kind of digging in right now to try to come back to that. Yes, it's definitely not young, but I'm not getting a lot. Yeah, there's probably a hint of a leather in here. There might be a touch of like a nice desk. It's definitely not young, but at 15 years, I would hope for just a little more age.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I'd say 12 or 14 tops.
Yeah.
I definitely had 14-year-old single barrel ones that were definitely better than this. You're right. It isn't the best of the single barrels when you stretch the imagination because it's a bit simple. It's caramel. It's a nice little oak. There's a small little vanilla, and there's some spice to it. It's a safe whiskey that delivers flavors that people will gravitate to.
Yeah.
So, if you're a Knob Creek fan, no worries here. Yes, I expected more out of a 15-year-old whiskey as far as some age, but it doesn't have anything negative about an old bourbon either.
Yeah, I do got to give, I think where the age is showing up is in how the caramel and the wood play so well together. It's almost like, it's almost like you put some wood in like a big vat of caramel to the point where like the wood disintegrated, it's gone, and now you've just got this like woody caramel. I think that's where the age is kicking in.
With the spice mix then.
And then there's a nice big wallop of spice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got age, it's got depth, but it's not quite what you're hoping for 15. However, I know a lot of people were really nervous that this was going to come off as super oaky, bitter.
No.
Like if you aren't picking the barrel, suddenly you're going to get a bunch of bad barrels that are over oaked, and it's going to ruin it. No,
like they don't know what they're doing.
It just actually comes off
like they don't do that for a living. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man. I mean, there's been some batches out there that people have complained about.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Which is funny because again, every batch I've seen had those exact same notes. KC001, KY-230.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that meant nothing.
Maybe it means something on like the new ones that are coming out. But anyway, very nice overall presentation. Nice whiskey. Let me go in here with water. I put super little water in here, Mike. Let me tell you, it was a very wise decision because it actually brought that caramel even more forward.
It's even sharper, you're right.
And
more spice too, though.
I'll tell you what it's tasting, man. The palate. Whoo! Yes. Yes. Super, super sweet. Caramel forward. The oak starts building up in the mid palate, and then the spice and oak come in the finish. It may have simplified the whiskey, but Mike, if you like sweet caramel whiskey, nailed it with just that little drop of water.
You're right. It is super candied now.
Yeah.
Especially on the finish.
Yeah.
Especially as soon as you
And that's not what I expect from a 15-year-old Knob Creek. I expect more oak. I expect more dryness. Now, it's there on the finish. It's still got that.
Finally, something I really like on the whiskey. You're right there. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're right.
No, that's beautiful.
You owe it yourself to put a few drops of water in this.
Yeah, I mean, very light.
It unlocks the best part of this whiskey.
That caramel note's beautiful.
Because it just didn't get to candied before. And as soon as you put some water in it, it just opens that door for you.
Yeah. Now, Mike, I think the first thing people are going to ask us when we put this out, forget score. They're going to say, Knob Creek 18. This can be found just under $100 some places,
Yes,
up
sir.
to about $125.
Okay.
Knob Creek 18, $180, and probably going up because there's going to be some secondary on that because it's a one-off.
So what Dustin's getting at is we recently, a few reviews back, reviewed the Knob Creek 18. I'm pretty confident in saying this before we get to a whiskey score. It's a similar score, but I prefer this whiskey.
You prefer this one?
I do.
Okay. So you're thinking, forget money, you just think this is a better whiskey?
I do.
Okay.
Then the 18 we just came out that we just recently did. I'm sorry, but yes.
Okay.
I'm having a better time with it because there's one thing that's actually exceptional about this whiskey, and why the 18 was a more complex whiskey, had more things going on. This one is a simpler whiskey, but I like what the simple things do here better.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I think they're so incredibly similar that paying more for the 18 is silly, except for the novelty of the age statement and having it.
The 18,
That said,
okay, I'm sorry.
the 18 costs more. It's a one-off.
It
This
does.
isn't. So I think these are incredibly similar.
I agree. I said they were a similar score.
I agree. Yeah, but I mean, like as far as whiskeys go, yes, I'm picking up with a tiny drop of water. This has a much more caramel forward note that I really like.
That went to candy.
The 18, yeah, it's like candied caramel oak. I don't know how to explain it better. It's candied caramel oak, if that's a thing. And by the way, if anybody wants to start selling that, I will probably buy a pack of chews. The 18, more complex. There's more going on. This, less complex, less going on. I agree with Mike. That one note I do like better. But I do think in my head, the 18 is this much better whiskey. And thus, I'm going to give this, Mike, an 88. The exact same score as the 18.
I'm going to give the exact same score I gave the 18, which is an 87.
There you
Except for I'm more like an 87 and a half. And I'll say I'll give this a similar score, but I prefer this whiskey, and here's why. Yes, it's simpler, but it does something I look forward to.
Yeah.
And when I go back to this whiskey, I'm like, I want to get back to this. It gave me an anchor. It gave me at least something to shoot for every time.
Yep.
And if I pick up something else, great. But it gave me something I really like in a whiskey. And if I find something I really like in a whiskey compared to a very similar whiskey that did more things, but didn't do anything as well as one or two things this did.
I get it.
All right, so we're both at Dustin at 88, I'm at 87.
Yeah.
Very similar scores that we gave to the 18-year-old Knob Creek that just we debuted probably a month or two ago. So anyway, I slightly prefer this, but a very similar whiskey. If you just want to get to sweetness and traditional bourbon flavors, this one.
Yeah.
If you want to expand your understanding of whiskey, the 18.
Yeah. As a drinker, when it comes down to price, you're going to buy the 15.
Bang.
Unquestionable. This
Nope.
is substantially less.
For sure. That's really the end of this discussion. Till next time, Dustin, we'll wish the folks.
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.